All those who gave their lives in service, in all services during the Second World War, and a particular tribute to those who served in the Air Forces, and with the two Lancasters here, a particular tribute to the more than 55,000 young men from Bomber Command, especially recognising Squadron Leader V. Drinkle, DMC.
That was an Autogyro, and so is this. And as you'll see, it's a highly manoeuvrable aircraft. Quite a contrast to the display that we saw from the BBMF earlier on.
That's quite lovely.
So Peter's display will be showing off this aircraft's manoeuvrability. It's got a great smoke system, so we won't lose track of it. To give it its proper name, it is the Air Total Calidus Autogyro. Now, as he brings the aircraft almost to a stop, with the nose pointing into the wind, and then begins a spiral descent. So this aircraft can fly up to 120 miles an hour. It normally cruises at 100 miles an hour. As you saw from that manoeuvre, can fly as slow as 0 miles an hour. It can go sideways, it can go backwards. Highly manoeuvrable, has a very good short takeoff and landing capability. You might look at it as a civilian version of a Harrier. Twin-engined aircraft. And by the look of this, he likes skiing as well, as he slaloms his way up the beach. He participated in the first World Microlight Championship, finishing 4th. He won the 1994 Around the World Air Race in Tiger, a 1500 horsepower Cessna Conquest 2 twin turboprop aircraft. And he's recorded as an official Earth Rounder, as somebody who's flown around the world in the name of adventure. He's also flown the world's largest biplane, the Antonov AN-2, and would you believe he has an ambition to fly this aircraft through the Channel Tunnel. Well, we saw in one of those Mission Impossible movies, somebody tried to chase Tom Cruise through the tunnel in a helicopter with spectacularly unsuccessful results, as I recall. I wonder if Peter will have any better luck if he ever gets that through all the red tape. His display today is sponsored by Air Total and Sydney Charles Insurance, and also Cooley's Pilot Displays, Sky Demon Navigation Software, and Vertigo Aircraft Company. Let's give Peter a wave as he flies along the beach. He's signalling back with his smoke as he skids sideways now. Autogyros were invented 20 years after the Wright brothers first flew, so 1923, by somebody called Juan de las Piedras, and marked a departure from conventional fixed-wing aircraft in an attempt to invent an aircraft that couldn't stall. He's flying very slowly, sticking the nose up. Forward motion through the air is through the propeller you can see there on the rear of the aircraft, and it's the slipstream, the airflow that turns the rotor blades that allow the aircraft to develop lift. So that means that if the engine fails, it's not a case of dropping out of the sky, as may happen with a single-engine helicopter, because he can just stick the nose of the aircraft down and it'll auto-rotate down to a safe landing, which can also be done in a single-engine helicopter, but needs a lot more skill to do it accurately and safely. So those rotor blades are just freewheeling in flight, they're not powered by the engine. Powering the aircraft is a Rotax 914 engine, which gives it 115 horsepower. So I think if your back garden's long enough, doesn't need to be all that wide, it could be a nice little touring aircraft for you. Both of them also display Richard's family Spitfire, more of that anon. So pulling up now for a loop in line abreast formation. Now pulling up for what looks like a repeat, but this is the half Cuban 8. So Dave's moved into echelon formation, and on the way down they roll to fly away from us. And then the formation splits to left and right, they fly all the way around and will come into each other for a head-on pass at over 300 miles an hour. So let's see just how close they get. There we are. Wow, that was spectacular. Pulling up now, vertically rolling. They'll fly away from us to rejoin in formation. Now as they're back in formation, they'll fly in from the right to present the classic sequence of a loop, a stall turn, and then a barrel roll. Smoke is on as they come round the bend. Nice and low, and then up for the line abreast loop. The vertical for that stall turn. Let's see if they all both turn together. It'll be on the leader's call. Throttling back, speed falls away, boot of rudder goes in, and down they come.
I got a voice there.
And Dave moves very neatly into line astern formation on the way down as they set themselves up to fly the barrel roll. Dave tucked in very tightly behind his leader there, his propeller just a few feet away from the leader's fuselage. The formation leader is Richard Grace, who, like so many of the other display pilots we've had today, comes from an aviation family. His father, Nick Grace, is famous for restoring one of the few two-seater Spitfires in the UK. He was tragically killed in a car accident, at which point his wife, Carolyn Grace, took on learning to fly and display the Spitfire. Now as they come over the top, watch as they come on the way down, and the formation splits once again to right and left. Now both aircraft pull up for the opposition half Cuban 8. Both aircraft performing the same manoeuvre and then flying back into the centre, at which point Dave will scuttle away and fly up to gain height, leaving the centre stage to Richard Grace to perform a few solo aerobatic manoeuvres. There's Richard in front of us. And then coming round in from the left for a knife edge pass. But with a difference. He's inverted. So Richard also flies the family Spitfire, the Grace Spitfire, as does his teammate Dave Pullison, who we see now diving into the centre. Dave learned to glide at RAF Marham in 1989 when he was just 14 years old. And he began working part-time at the Norfolk and Norwich Aero Club at Swanton Morley, where he was remunerated in flying hours. He first flew a Pitts S1 at the age of 17, shortly after he gained his private pilot's license and before he even had a license to drive a car. As well as flying the Pitts, he's also flown the Boeing Stearman, which we'll be seeing closing the show today with the Breitling Wingwalkers. Over the top, and then they roll for the first of the three manoeuvres. Then pulling up to repeat it once again. And watch out for the roll as they exit the top part before pulling up for the third and final time. The formation leader, Richard Grace, is an engineer by trade. He started working on aircraft at the age of 13 in his summer holidays at the Fighter Collection at Duxford. He was employed as a full-time engineer on the family Spitfire at the age of 18, and he now manages an approved aircraft engineering maintenance facility at Bentwaters in Suffolk. Now keep your eyes on the aircraft, because Richard will be rolling inverted. As they put, yes, he's on upside down already as they present the mirror formation fly past. Each aircraft acting as a mirror image of the other, and showing that with that symmetrical wing, the Pitts Special flies equally well upside down as it does the right way up. Flying in opposite directions. They'll soon put a stop to that, and just like a pair of jousting medieval knights, flying straight in towards each other for another exciting crossing manoeuvre. Then flicking onto knife edge before coming round for their final fly past. And as they do, let's give them all a big wave for that very tidy display from these very manoeuvrable aircraft, the Pitts S1. Aircraft. Good photo opportunity. Let's give them a wave. Richard Grace He's waving back, I can see that hand, and followed by his number 2, Dave Fullerton. Let's give Dave a wave as well. Off to the left you can see Richard executing a very nice roll at the end of the display line. Yes, Dave's waving too. You can see that hand going. Giving us a wonderful view of the classic elliptical wing shape of the Spitfire. And this aircraft saw wartime service, being delivered to the Central Photographic Reconnaissance Unit of RAF Benson in January 1945, before moving to Belgium and Holland. She was engaged on active service with 16th Squadron up until the end of the war, and actually participated in Operation Crossbow to detect V1 and V2 launch sites for subsequent targeting. At the end of the war, it remained on duty in Germany until March 1946, before returning to the UK and being placed in storage. She was actually one of the founding members of the historic aircraft flight of the RAF, the precursor to the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, but spent less than a year with the historic aircraft flight before being transferred to other duties. In 1996 she was bought by Rolls-Royce to replace the original Rolls-Royce Spitfire Mark 14. which had been destroyed in a crash. And she's currently painted as aircraft C for Charlie of number 16 Photo Reconnaissance Squadron of the Tactical 2nd Air Force, which is the identity that she had during her wartime service.